What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to
History of Technique. The first Mazda with the number 3 was shown in 2003. And already in 2004, it replaced the retired Mazda Familia, aka Mazda 323 or Protege. And it was an interesting car in many ways. Externally it was similar to the older Mazda 6, which could not but please the eyes and hearts of the owners of new 3, but it was built on a very successful platform, Ford C1. I will remind, just in case, that on the same platform were built Ford Focus and Volvo S40. The company believed that the new Mazda 3 should become a kind of sporty golf class, so they gave it a rather aggressive design and released a really fast version of the hatchback MPS with a 2.3-litre turbo 4 with 260 horsepower. True, the most popular cars from sports did not receive anything except, perhaps, design, and slowly moved in space with modest atmospheric motors of 1, 6 and 2, 0 litres. But the car, as they call it, went in. In 2006, the first generation underwent a restyling, during which it became a little richer. For example, there were mandatory ABS and DSC systems. The latter is better known to us under the abbreviation EBD, brake force distribution system. Noise insulation has become better, appearance and interior have changed a little. In a word, the car has received deserved recognition, and it is not surprising that the second generation, the same hours with the Index BL, was also welcomed by the public. It happened in 2009. Despite the fact that the platform remained the old C1, that 3 has changed quite significantly. It has slightly moved away from sport and received some options which made it not so much sporty as comfortable. Here it was possible to buy a car with 2-zone climate, and with leather interior, and with a rain sensor, and with heated seats. Technically, the car was not that complicated, but quite modern. It had a successful Ford Multilink suspension at the back. The choice of gasoline engines was not bad, from 1.5 to 2.5 litres. There was a sport version Mazda Speed 3 MPS. As it usually happens, we were deprived of motors, and diesel 3 cars were sold only in Europe, and the new gasoline engine of the Skyactiv family was only in America, and only in the last year of the car's production. In our country, the gasoline cars with 1.6 and 2.0-litre engines were sold exclusively, and the first ones were the majority. Maybe it was right. Why do we need a diesel Mazda? Transmissions were both manual and automatic. With the most popular, in our country, 1.6-litre motor, there was an old good 4-speed automatic transmission FN4A-EL. It is also Ford S4F27E. As well as the engine, the box was a big ghost from the past, but both this engine and this automatic transmission had a good life. Unfortunately, 2009 turned out to be very unsuccessful for foreign cars on the Russian market. The second generation 3, which was not localized in Russia, rapidly increased in price and could not compete with the same Focus, which was produced in Russia. However, many people loved it anyway, though sometimes they scolded it. Why? Let's tell you below. At first, no one noticed this shortcoming. New cars rarely rust. However, there were occasional comments such as, "The paintwork is poor." Of course, over time it became obvious that if the car has problems with paintwork, it will definitely start to rot. It turned out to be so, and the rhetoric of owners quickly changed. The main disadvantage: it rusts, arches, sills. It is necessary to cover everything at once with Antica. Salt for Mazda is death. The body poorly resists corrosion. Rotten rear arches, sills, etc. Alas, it's all true. Mazda 3 2009-13. It should be noted that the contribution to the reputation of rotting and rusting car was made by the fact that Mazdas, due to their aggressive design, it was customary to burn with a 1.6-litre engine too. Yes, they were beaten mercilessly. It is almost impossible to find now 3 of this generation without accidents in history, so there is nothing strange that cars after body repair slowly rusted. And here also the age has come. Sadly, but corrosion has become a big problem for Mazda 3. Mazda 3 in general is quite a reliable car, but sometimes it needs spare parts too. And here comes the time of surprise, some parts are indecently expensive. And here it is very good that the popular platform C1 implies a huge number of non-original spare parts for every taste and pocket. It turns out to be not only noticeably cheaper, but also sometimes easier, faster, and even better quality. That's why many people say, if you take spare parts, it is cheaper to take non-original. I replaced the gas pump with a Priorovsky for 800p. The original is only complete and costs from 12,000p. In general, everything is clear. If you take the original, then yes, the amount is significant, but the duplicates are no worse. The price is exactly half the price. I had to buy parts from the Focus, fit 1-in-1, removed from the car. Part cannot be distinguished from the new. It's funny that Focus owners sometimes say exactly the opposite. I bought from Mazda, it was cheaper. Apparently, it makes sense to carefully leaf through the catalogs of substitutes. There are a lot of them. There are always chances to buy something good for not too high price. There are usually no questions about the space in the front seats. Only in one review there was such a remark: it is simply unreal to open the glove compartment when a passenger sits on the right. The lid rests on the knees. This is rather an exception, but there are regular claims to the rear sofa. There is little space for rear passengers. The three of us will be simply uncomfortable. At the same time, it is necessary to note that for its Class 3 is rather spacious, and it will be cramped there either for 3 persons or very tall and large passengers. Unfortunately, it is not the only complaint to the interior. Many people are not satisfied with finishing materials, which look cheap and are not distinguished by wear resistance. Someone briefly remarks about it: the plastic of the interior leaves much to be desired. And someone explains the situation in details: it is disappointing, plastic inside the car. The trim of the interior and the torpedo, the side surfaces of the interior are made of bad plastic, delicate, damaged, the same in the luggage compartment. Many Mazda owners envy owners of co-platform Fords and Volvos. Their interior materials are better, especially in Volvo. As I have already said, the peculiarity of the second-generation Mazda 3 is the transition from sport to comfort. Here it was impossible to do without some options which earlier could be seen only on more mature Mazda 6. Well, and certainly, this fact is very glad to those who have bought 3. They usually enthusiastically list everything that is in the car, a lot of useful and pleasant options, giving a feeling of comfort. For example, adjustment of a steering column on departure and height, heating of seats and mirrors, control of audio system on a steering wheel, etc. Heating of seats, directional stability, headlight corrector, headlight washer, 8 pillows, standard xenon, good standard music. There is nothing to add here, it remains only to rejoice and envy. Mazda 3 with a 2-liter engine, and even on a stick it is a dream of a young racer. But very popular configuration with 1.6-liter engine and old automatic 4-speed gear is sad. Here it is not that sport, here even decent dynamics does not smell. Maybe some sluggishness could be forgiven, but there is a second side of a medal: this configuration has very significant gasoline consumption. All this together does not give rest to many people. In winter is stingy, at strong thrusts with warming up it bursts in the area of 14 to 15 liters, and it at volume 1.6. Does not go at all, only hums. In acceleration is dull, somewhere lags at 100 km per hour, gas in a floor, but really reaches it only after 5 seconds. Apparently, we have to agree with one of the commentators: 1.6 is fine for a girl, but not enough for a boy. A clarification is required here. Since these Mazdas were brought to us from Japan, all owners are proud of the fact that the 3 is not just reliable, but especially reliable in Japanese. It can, of course, cause a smile, but almost all insist on this wording: Japanese reliability. Only such and no other. So they write: reliable Japanese assembly, engine, automatic transmission and electrics, everything works perfectly, Japanese. Assembly has passed 166,000 kilometers. Nothing broke, only consumables were changed, real Japanese quality. Truly legendary Mazda budget series. The country manufacturer is Japan, which also speaks a lot. Personally for me it is an indicator of reliability and comfort. Perhaps I will not comment on this reason for love, they can cut in two by a real Japanese katana. Mazda's suspension setup is very different from that of Ford and Volvo. It is more rigid and less comfortable. We will talk about it below, and meanwhile we will notice one detail: it is not only stiff, but also very low. And if many people are ready to put up with the first, then it is really difficult to drive with very small clearance, 155 mm, on bad roads. Especially in winter. Reviews do not please with variety. Landing is low, that is why you can't drive on country roads, very low, at Russian roads sometimes. It brings discomfort, you have to drive slowly around pits and bumps not to catch a bumper, and protection. That's all true, but in defense of this generation, I will say one thing: the Mazda 3 BP has 135 mm at all. So it's not all bad on the BL. Well, let's move on to the most obvious points. Let's start with the handling. It at 3 is really fine, though it is reached at the price of comfort. See hatred no. 2-inch a little above. But those who bought a sporty car do not care about it. That is why in every second review there are rails. Controllability, stability on the road are excellent. It enters corners as on rails, control is just super. It holds the road like on rails. It is a bit hackneyed and formulaic, but if it is so, why not tear another bouillon? Rails are rails. Alas and the Mazda 3 has problems with the noise. Not only that, Mazda 6 has them too, though it would seem. In spite of the fact that they worked on this question several times and at designing of this generation, and during restyling, silence in 3 has not added. The main source of noise is wheel arches. People rarely complain about the sound of the engine, but the arches are a trouble. Poor noise insulation, especially if something flies into the fenders. No noise insulation is also almost nothing. The noise of wheels and stones is clearly heard. Good thing this problem can be solved with additional noise insulation. For those who have not addressed this issue, I can only sympathize. Because I agree with the person who wrote the following: wheel arch noise insulation is just a *****. Many people chose Mazda not with their mind, but with their eyes. And it is right. For 2009 the car was very good. Now, certainly, it already looks outdated, but at the same time it does not seem terrible. Still, it does well with design, fantastic design, which pleases the eye both outside and inside, a pronounced individuality. And everything in it is amazingly harmonious. There is nothing to comment here, but I will add a small spoonful of tartar to this barrel of honey. Many people are irritated by red illumination of dashboards and interior. Well, as some people say, like it, don't like it, bear with it. My beauty, I wanted sport and aggression, get it. True, together with an atmospheric engine 1.6 liters and automatic transmission 4. In conclusion, the Mazda 3 BL offers a compelling mix of performance, design, and reliability, making it an attractive option for many buyers. Its engaging driving experience and stylish aesthetics are certainly reasons to consider this model. However, potential buyers should also weigh the concerns regarding maintenance costs and the availability of parts, especially as the vehicle ages. Ultimately, whether to buy or not depends on your personal preferences and priorities. If you value a sporty ride and unique style, the Mazda 3 could be a great fit. But if long-term reliability and cost-effectiveness are your main concerns, it may be worth exploring other options. Thank you for watching, and we hope this guide helps you make an informed decision.